Who here likes football, man? Just me? All right, cool. So today, man, we talking about why the Minnesota Vikings are in a terrible position. Now, I don't know what's happened this season, but we're just so good with Sam Darnold, but it feels like they just, I don't know why, bro. I thought they were really good, but I guess life
The
changes.
Minnesota Vikings entered the 2025 season with high hopes and were looking to take the next step. To the surprise of, well, everyone, they finished the 2024 season with a 14-3 record and for the first time in NFL history were a 14-win wildcard team. It was a very unfortunate ending to the 2024 season as they entered the Week 18 game against the Lions with the 1 seed on the line and lost with a score of 31-9. And then the following Monday night were embarrassed by the Rams as their season ended with a 27-9 loss.
They were cooked, bro. It was completely cooked. It was a generational breakdown, man. It was very sad to see. They were a pretty tough team too going into the year, bro. So stuff like that happened, I'd be like, dang, bro, like what caused the whole meltdown?
And in the 2024 season, the Vikings only lost to two teams, the Lions and Rams, and entering the 2025 offseason, they had quite the decision in front of them. Do they bring back quarterback Sam Darnold, who, despite a very non-traditional career path, threw for 4,300 yards and 35 touchdowns, or do they roll with 2024 first-round quarterback J.J. McCarthy and do what they had been intending to do since GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and head coach Kevin O'Connell took over back in 2022, which is built around a quarterback on a rookie contract? Well, they rolled the dice with McCarthy.
I don't understand what's wrong with the league, bro. You roll the dice when you have such a good play. Like, bro, you don't. Who doesn't run back a season as successful as 14-3? Who doesn't run that back? Are you goofy?
And the results backfired almost instantly. And fast forward to the present day, and the Minnesota Vikings are in a very bad situation. As you can imagine, there is a lot to break down in today's video, and if you'd like the video before we start, a football will appear and would also be very much appreciated. And with those prefaces out of the way, the 2022 Minnesota Vikings draft class is one of the worst of the 2020s. They had 4 picks in the top 66 and received next to 0 contribution from any of those said picks. And there's a reason the old saying is to build through the draft and to supplement through free agency, and it's because you do not want to be put in a situation like the Vikings have been over the past few off seasons, where you have to essentially put Flex Seal on the roster because of how bad the misses were within the NFL draft. And within the 2022 NFL draft specifically, the Vikings had the 12th overall pick and needed a safety. None other than Notre Dame's Kyle Hamilton was available when they were on the clock. So first-year GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah did the logical thing and traded back 20 spots with the division rival Lions so that they could come up and draft Jameson Williams. And given that you are trading back, especially with a division rival, you would think there would be quite the tax to trade up, but nope, the Vikings also lost value on the trade as if they were doing the Lions a favor. And then they drafted safety Lewis Cine, number 32 overall, who would go on to play 10 total defensive snaps for the Vikings during his time in Minnesota. And no, that is not an exaggeration.
That's wild.
That is actually how many snaps he played. I'm not going to go over every pick within the 2022 draft to this degree for time purposes, but if I were on the clock and picked 12 in 2022, well, you guys know that I am a believer in drafting good football players and to not overcomplicate the process if you don't have to, and I would have drafted any of Kyle Hamilton, Jordan Davis, Trent McDuffie, or Tyler Linderbaum. All of those players filled needs for the Vikings at the time, and all would have been a fine selection. And you get the point of how the draft would play out for Minnesota. And their best player from this class was 6th-round receiver Jalen Nailor.
And that's just crazy, bro. Like, how do they just have such bad luck? Like, sometimes it's just like, bro, your scouting department, everyone has to just get gutted, bro. Like, it's not going to work. That's not going to work long term. I don't think anyone could really pretend that it can, bro. That's just not good. That's just not good front office, bro. Not a good organization.
Who I like for what he is as a player, but that obviously doesn't make up for missing as bad as you did throughout the entire draft. And one of the benefits of the NFL draft is having day 2 or day 3 selections fill out your roster with room to grow as players and also provide cheap depth on top of it. But because this class was so bad, they quite literally couldn't do this really outside of Jalen Nailor and an occasional spot start from running back Ty Chandler. And this draft still hurts this team to this day. And during the 2022 regular season, the Vikings traded a 2023 2 and a 2024 3 for TJ Hawkinson, which was a good trade at the time, credit Kwesi where it's due, but because of how historically bad the 2022 draft class was, not having a second round pick the following year in some ways hurt the Vikings because they were not receiving any rookie contribution the way you'd expect from a team that, again, had 4 selections in the top 66 picks. And in fairness to TJ Hawkinson, this was a beneficial trade for both sides, as Hawkinson was on pace for over 1,000 yards in 2023 before tearing his ACL and MCL in a game, ironically, against his former team, the Detroit Lions. And unfortunately, that was a career-altering injury because Hawkinson has been nowhere close to the same player since the injury, and you can tell he does not have the same explosiveness as he once did, and he almost never breaks a tackle. And there's also a reason he's averaging just 8.1 yards per catch in 2025, and I'll leave it at that. Now, each and every draft cycle...
Dang, bro. That's just so crazy, bro, because now it's like, I just see them wasting that man Justin Jefferson's life right now.
Generational is thrown around far too often, and if you are a longtime supporter or viewer of the channel, then you know that I refer to generational as the G word, as there's a reason that prospects should be viewed as generational when those said prospects come around, like a Jamar Chase or a Penei Sewell, and you get the point. Those are not yearly players. They are, again, once in a generation type players. And that's no disrespect to players that are going to be taken in the first round this year, but I don't think there's a true once in a decade type player or a generational type player. So where we are going with this is I really do think the 2022 Vikings draft class was generationally bad. And that's the type of draft that sets you back a couple of years. And with the complete lack of depth the Vikings have on their roster at this point, unfortunately, you are now seeing that. Now, for General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah specifically, there's a lot of criticism to be had, which we will certainly get to with the 2024 and 2025 Vikings draft classes, but trading a 2023-2 and a 2024-3 for tight end TJ Hawkinson is a fine
Bad.
trade.
It's bad, bro. It's just bad. Like, it's just, I don't understand, bro. I don't get why it's so complicated for them, bro.
Now, pertaining to the 2023 Vikings draft class, it started with USC wide receiver Jordan Addison. I think there's a conversation to be had about Jordan Addison and the problems that he's had off the field, the distractions to the team. But with the player he is on the field, again, I think you have to credit Kwesi. This was a good draft pick. And Jordan Addison, believe it or not, leads the 2023 draft class in receiving touchdowns to this day. And obviously, the conversation about Justin Jefferson and the quarterback play he's had over the past couple of years also applies to Jordan Addison. And for him to lead that draft class in receiving touchdowns with guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba and Puka Nacua and Sam Laporta,
It's crazy. It's actually
I'm going
crazy.
to consider that a hit of a draft pick. And like we said, the Hawkinson second-round selection I am completely fine with. And again, you have to at least be fair to Kwesi within criticisms. He did not know that TJ was going to tear his ACL and MCL and not be anywhere close to the same player after the said injury. The Vikings only had one top 100 pick in 2023, due in large part to the Hawkinson trade, and when they were on the clock in the third round initially, they traded back. So their 102nd pick in the 23 draft was Vikings corner Mekhi Blackmon, and I'm not going to give an in-depth breakdown for every player from 2023, but what you should know is outside of Jordan Addison, the only other player on this roster from 2023 is still safety Jay Ward, and Jay Ward is a special teams player. He has played less than 100 total defensive snaps because he's, again, more of a special teams player, and they also signed undrafted free agent Ivan Pace as a UDFA. But when you look at this class, and specifically
it's looking poo-poo, bro. Like, dog. The Vikings, bro, I don't understand how I can't even say they've fallen from grace because they didn't start off as like some generational team, bro. But it just feels as if they've had so many good chances. Sam Darnold was nice. Justin Jefferson was looking like a beast. And to just blow it all up makes no sense, bro. Just because you wanted to take a chance on some off-brand Tom Brady clone, bro. Like, they got that boy 9 out there going stupid, bro. Yo, bro, please, I pray for the Vikings fans, bro. Y'all deserve so much better. A beautiful city, a beautiful organization, a beautiful family over there. And it just sucks to see that y'all keep getting done dirty like this, bro. Pray for Vikings fans, bro. Please.